Everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we are hearing you. Everyone is hearing you.
Okay, yeah. Hello everyone. I have a little bit of an echo on my side. Maybe I can turn that off, but no, it's all right. I'll just go like this. So, yeah, hey everyone. My name is James, and I'm a software developer in the United States. And yeah, I'm really happy to meet you all, and would love to know a little bit about yourselves and what you've been learning. And I'll be happy to maybe give you some tips or some advice if I can.
Okay. Starting with me. Okay. Now, yeah, my name is Jeffrey, and it is my first time doing coding. Yes.
Great, nice to meet you. How old are you?
20 this year.
Cool. So you just started coding?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
And it's also nice to meet you since I've never spoken to an American before, which I am starting today. And I would like to know a little bit more on on how you became a developer. Yes.
Sounds good. Um, I'd be happy to tell you a little bit about how I became a developer. So I'm actually 30 right now, and I learned how to code when I was a kid. I got really interested in computers, and I just wanted to know how they work. So actually, we had in my house we had a Mac computer, and just loved to play with it. And I was just curious, how could I make little things? How could I make games? So in school, we had one course where when I was a kid, and we learned how to make games, and this got me really excited. Um, so I didn't know then that being a developer was like going to be a well-paying job or anything like that. I just thought it was interesting. So I started to teach myself, and when I became about 16 or 17, then I started to have my first job as a developer. And at that time, I was learning a lot of PHP and JavaScript. And I think in Cameroon as well, PHP and JavaScript are very in demand, right? These skills, right? So um, at that point, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I went to college. I actually studied aerospace engineering, so completely different from software engineering. And I did that for a few years, but what I like the most about software engineering is that it's very creative, and you can work on a lot of projects on your own. Um, so after after college, I just started to work for some smaller companies, some startups, and to try out some different ideas. I mean, try working for some different kinds of companies. Um, at that point, I was pretty good with JavaScript, with C. I'd done some iOS programming, so I did some Swift. But I just want to say, like, I started when I was quite young, and it took me many years to learn these languages. So if you're 20 now, um, and you work hard for a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years, you can become you can become a very skilled developer in maybe one or two different languages, and you will get there eventually. It took me many years of just of practicing in order to become confident in my skills.
Wow. That's really nice. That's really nice. Um, And here that person next to another person to ask a question from someone else. Okay. 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 This is okay. My name is Francis.
Francis?
Francis.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Okay, nice to meet you too. My first time talking to an American, which is so amazing, but at the same time so fun. That's one thing. Okay, so I have a question. Okay, uh, is software okay? How can software engineering be important as a freelancer?
Can you say that? Can you say that one more time?
Okay, how is okay? Let's take an example. Me, I don't have any job, right? And I'm thinking of doing software engineering at my home as
Hmm.
my job. How
Hmm.
will it be important to me as a freelancer?
So, you want to start working as a freelancer, and you have a little bit of experience, or how much experience do you have already?
No, this is my first time. Okay, I'm just asking when I will be like 24, 25 years old. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So I just want to know. So that if I don't have a job, I'll think about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So you want to know what's the best way to get into software engineering as a freelancer? That's the question.
yeah. Yes.
So being a freelancer sounds really nice because you have a lot of freedom, and you can choose what projects you work on. Um, I should also say that there's a lot of downsides of being a freelancer as well. Just to you know just to give all of the context, as a freelancer, you have to put a lot of energy into making connections, making business connections, creating a brand for yourself, also managing communication with different clients, making sure that they don't expect too much. And you often have to talk to a lot of non-technical people as well. So being a freelancer um, is pretty challenging. Um, However, if you can do a good job at creating a good name for yourself, like a good brand, and by that what I mean is like um, having a nice looking website, having a GitHub profile. Do you use GitHub? Have you used GitHub before?
Well, we did that before, but we got a little distracted when we had to
Mhm.
put our code.
Yeah.
That was a big problem.
So
Yes.
so all of these places, like your website, your GitHub profile, on Twitter, the, these are places where people will find you. Um, and starting as a freelancer can be a good way to get some experience. But I also think that it can be a lot of work. It can be a lot of work up front. However, if you think that you have a good network of people locally, like within your country, that have the need for websites and apps and software development, then I think working as a freelancer um, might be really nice. Um, but if you want to learn as much as possible quickly, then actually I would recommend finding a company where you have more experienced people who you'll be working under, and then you'll be learning from them every day. So yeah, I just want to say that working as a freelancer, it has its benefits. Um, you can work for anyone, and you can work anywhere, but it also has like a lot of challenges, which is that you have to build up your own brand and reputation, and you also have to put a lot of work into making connections. Um, so that's my best advice for getting into freelancing.
Okay. Somebody else. Let's give somebody else the possibility to ask a question. Someone else. Yes, you can ask. Maybe you can stand up a bit so that he sees you. Yeah. Your name. My name is Bertrand. Bertrand. Is it okay?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Okay, my question is, I know that software development is divided into field. So I wanted to ask, which field do you work on?
Hey, Deshnik, do you think you could repeat the question because it's just a little bit far from the microphone? Um,
So he's asking, he understands software development is made up of different fields. So he wants to know which field are you into as a software developer?
oh, nice question. So, within software development, I guess you can divide it up in a lot of different ways. You could divide it up like by industry. Like you have like biotech and med tech and consumer software and finance. But then within software, there's also, of course, the different roles like front end developer, back end developer, um, you know, platform developer, infrastructure developer, all of these different roles which you'll learn about. So I mainly work as a full stack developer, and I really, really recommend looking into this role. As a full stack developer, you're going to be learning and using a lot of JavaScript. And I think you all have done a little bit of JavaScript.
Yeah, we just started JavaScript. So
Cool.
today after the meeting, we'll look at do manipulation in JavaScript.
So JavaScript as a programming language is one of the fastest growing and most in-demand programming languages that you can learn. And it's not the most perfect programming language, but if you know JavaScript well, you can get a job basically anywhere. And so, as a full stack developer, what I do is I make the front end, the website in JavaScript, and also with other technologies that use JavaScript like React. Um, and then on the back end, I also write JavaScript code, which does things like managing the database, user authentication, so having people sign in and sign out. And so this is the role of the full stack developer is to create nice looking front end, a back end that is secure and reliable, and then to write code like the API which connects the two together. Um, so this is like I do this a lot because there's always a need for this kind of role. Um, but I'm also interested in all sorts of software development. I've done a lot of different things. I've never made games, but I've done like lots of other different types of software development as well.
Someone else. Yeah. So we have from her. Okay. Okay, um, my name is Joy.
Hi, Joy.
Hi. I'm 17 years old. I'm a high school student. So I am not really. I just started, and it's actually my first time doing anything related to programming or coding. We learned it in school. We did the theory, but we did not really get into the practicals. So this is actually my first time having attending practical classes and actually coding and writing programs. So and it's a little bit challenging, I must say. Since I started, I've been facing a lot of challenges. It's kind of complicated. So I wanted to ask, when you started, what are the challenges you had and how did you overcome them?
Yeah. So Joy, your question was like, what were the biggest challenges I had when I started out, right? So I think the biggest challenge that I had when I started out by far was actually something that you've already done better than I did when I was starting out, which is that I didn't have a group of people that I was learning with. When I started out, I didn't have any friends actually that really wanted to code with me. And I didn't even know where to look for them, because I was quite young, and for most of the kids in school, like coding wasn't really cool at that time. So for me, that was my biggest challenge, was sort of finding a community of people. But even as I got older, and I was already working as a software developer, and I did have some friends that also coded. I still didn't really have a strong community, and I think sometimes you might feel like that as well, because even though you have a community now, maybe later on, you might be living somewhere else, or maybe you might be busier, and you might not have that group of people that you can go to and ask questions. And for me, as I progressed as a software developer, I learned how important it was to meet other people, that I could openly talk to about coding and basically ask them any question that I wanted. Because sometimes it's very embarrassing to ask people that don't know very well questions. So so I made a lot of friends, eventually, by um, going to different groups, joining different groups on the internet, um, meeting up with people at meetups in person, and basically just going to any kind of event, and eventually making friends. But it can be very hard to meet a lot of people that are really interested in discussing the details of what you're learning. So for me, that was really the biggest challenge when I started out, was sort of just finding a group of people that I could talk to about coding, and that we could just ask each other questions anytime.
Okay, so I have just one last question.
Yeah.
After developing your skills as a software developer, how did you sell your skills in the market? Like, how did you start getting projects and software?
Yeah, I think I can answer this question, because initially, when I became a software developer, I did a very, very bad job of selling my skills. Um, when I was in high school, someone would come to me and they would say, "Oh, you can make websites. Want to make me a website?" And I wouldn't even sometimes I wouldn't even like negotiate or ask them for money. I would just spend time on it, and um, I just wanted to show them that I could do it. But as I got older, that became more of a problem, because I didn't have the skills of selling myself, and I didn't know how much my skills were worth. I think, to start off, you have to know how much other people um, how much other people are getting paid for doing similar things that you're doing. So you have to know people that are working, and and know how much certain skills are worth, just to start off, because that will give you the confidence to really sell yourself when you realize that for doing the same thing, other people are making money. And then what else you can do to sell your skills is building a portfolio. I think that if someone wants you to work for them, the first thing that they'll probably want to do is to meet you and get a sense of your personality, and feel that you're a reliable person who communicates well. Um, but the next thing that they really will want is they'll want to see what you've made before, what projects that you've done. And these projects, they don't have to be huge, impressive projects. It's better to start by making small projects that convey your personality, that are fun for you. It can even be something kind of silly, or cute, but showing that you have made projects which you really made yourself. You didn't copy from someone else, and you really cared about the project, and maybe even documented those projects well. Maybe put the source code online on GitHub. Having a portfolio is really the strongest thing that you can do, because people know people know what they're getting. You know, when they people know what kind of things you can do and what your skills are.
Okay, thank you very much. That's meant to go a long way for me.
I hope that's helpful.
Even
Any other question from someone? Yeah.
Okay. Hello, Oscar. Nice to meet
Hi, nice to meet you.
you. Yeah. How do you manage your time while you are learning how to cook and everything?
So the question was, how do I manage my time? And then can you repeat the last part, Deshnik?
Yeah. So what he's trying to know is when you were learning how to code, how were you able to manage your time and other activities you had?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good question, because if you're spending a few hours a week learning how to code, it can really feel like it's taking forever. Um, you might spend you know an hour learning a new concept, and then you might spend many hours just getting stuck on a bug and getting frustrated at that bug, and feeling like you can't move further because you don't know how to solve this problem. Um, I think when I was learning, initially I had a lot of time, because I was kind of young, and I I just didn't have like all of the pressures that you get when you get to be older. So I had a lot of time to just play around, and I wasn't really worried about managing my time too much. But now that I have like a pretty busy schedule, and I have lots of pressures, I cannot spend like my whole weekend or a whole day just learning a new concept. I need to be a lot more efficient about it. And the first thing that I do is, if I get stuck on a problem, I don't keep working on it until I solve it. I'll decide, okay, maybe I will keep working on this for another 30 minutes or another hour, but after that, I'm going to do something else. Because the worst thing is when you just work on something and you get stuck and more stuck, and then you're tired, um, and then you get some rest, and then the next day suddenly you can solve it. So I think limiting the amount of time I spend debugging is really important. When I run out of time on these things, I will either maybe get some rest, or I will ask someone else, one of my friends. Maybe I send them a WhatsApp message saying, "Hey, have you ever seen this bug before?" Or sometimes I will send someone an email. I'll find someone on the internet that I think can help me. I'll send them an email and say, maybe even customer support, and I'll say, "Hey, do you know what this bug is?" And that way, I spend a lot less time debugging than I used to. I'm not afraid to do that, um, and that's been one of the most helpful things for me, managing my time. I think just knowing when something is beyond me, knowing when I need help, and not spending too much time on the small things, trying to get a bigger picture. That's helped me a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Still answer us another. Like, how did you get introduced into this field of software engineering?
Hmm. So, how did I get introduced into the field of software development? Was that the question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So, as I kind of said earlier, um, I didn't really get properly introduced into the field of software development. I started playing with computers when I was younger, and I just learned that there's this thing called programming, and that you can make games and websites just by changing around with the codes on the computer. When I was around 17, um, one of my friends in high school, her dad had a software company, and that was the first time that I even realized that someone would pay me to make software. So yeah, he became sort of a mentor for me, and he would give me some small jobs to do, and I would just come into his office for maybe an afternoon, and I would um, make a file. I would write a file of code for him. I would test it, and it would work, and then he would pay me some money, and that was sort of how I got started out. And I did that for maybe like a few weeks or a couple months in the summer, and that was really helpful for me because um, it it was my first like professional relationship, and I really needed to understand how those things work, like about just like about finances and taxes and how do you make a contract with someone. So this mentor, he helped me a lot, and later on he introduced me to other companies, and basically everything sort of opened up from that.
Alright. So, in addition, like when you started working in real life projects, what were like, what were you concentrating on? Were you concentrating on the things, or were you concentrating on learning more?
So the question was like, what kind of projects that I worked on?
No, so his question is when you started actually working on projects that actually paid on paid gigs,
Oh
like
yeah,
what was your focus? Were you actually focusing on the pace of you completing the project, or were you focused more on learning, on getting more skills and learning through the project? That's his question.
yeah. When I started getting paid, I was really focused on making a good impression on the people that I worked for. Um, so I was always trying to work at a fast pace. I think maybe it would have been a better idea to spend a bit more time learning, um, and um, not working so fast. But it's hard to know. It's hard to know looking back. Um, my first projects were they were pretty boring projects. I think it was at the time I was using a programming language called ASP.NET to make websites and to update financial websites. That was one of the first projects that I worked on. Then there was also like a lot of websites and blogs that used like PHP and WordPress. Um, so I was focused a lot on just trying to get the job done as fast as possible. But I had to learn a lot of things that way, and I think maybe that's really the best way to learn because I still didn't really have someone teaching me within those companies. I still had to look everything up, and there was no ChatGPT, of course. I was just going on Google and whatever website I could find, maybe a lot of forums, and yeah, I did learn a lot that way.
Okay. So any other question? Maybe we are 28 minutes gone, and not to take much of your time, and we have to continue the class. So, one question in which I might have for the class is, what would be your advice for them to be able to acquire the necessary skills that is needed for them to finally become the software engineer or the developer in which they wish to become? Because being able to be a developer, you need to acquire these skills. So, what are the steps, or what's the roadmap would you advise for them as the necessary skill, how for them to be able to gain these skills as a software developer?
Yeah. Um, I actually have just a couple. I actually have a list of tips that I would actually recommend for you. So let me just show you this. It's not exactly your question, but I think it's pretty. I think it will be pretty close to what you asked. So I'll just go through them. There's like 8 of them. The first one we've already done, which is find a community, and you guys have done that really, really well. Um, the next one is share what you're learning. So take what you're learning now, and then start maybe on Twitter, on Medium, on a blog, or really anywhere on the internet, even Instagram or Facebook, doesn't matter. Start sharing what you're learning, because you're going to. This is going to be a habit that you're going to keep doing always as a software developer, and it's going to bring other people to you. Um, Join Discord servers. It doesn't have to be Discord server, maybe Facebook group, but join groups on the internet where you can share knowledge with people and you can grow. Um, Upload your stuff to GitHub. Make a GitHub profile and start putting projects that you're working on there, even if it's a simple website. Other people can come and they can see what you're working on and they can say, "Hey, that's pretty cool." Um, Make readmes for your project. So in each project, you want to put a file that just sort of describes in plain English what you've done, so that way other people can find it. Um, you want to start going to in-person events when you can. I know that maybe there aren't a lot where you live. Maybe there are some. Maybe you can start some. But I think there will be a lot more going forward in the future. And always you want to keep an eye out for more in-person events. Work on fun projects for yourself, because um, you're gonna learn a lot of things. And actually, like small fun projects are ways that they can actually blow up on the internet if you're creative. I've seen some really simple projects that someone made in 2 hours that they put on Twitter, and thousands or even millions of people like those projects because they were really fun. So it's just another way to show off your skills and also have fun. And then the last tip that I have is finding a hackathon. Um, Deshnik knows, about the hackathon scene where you live. But if there are no hackathons going on in person, there are always, almost every week, there are free hackathons that you can join on the internet. So there's a website called DevPost, and they have hackathons on these big Discord servers that you can join anytime. So obviously, you can't do all of those things in the next week. That's way too much. But I just wanted to give you some ideas of things that you will want to do in the next year as you are becoming a software developer. And if you're doing all of these things, if you're making the effort to learn from other people and then show other people the things that you've made, I think you don't have to worry too much about the particular skills that that you're developing, because you're going to acquire them very, very fast by working on projects. And when you meet people that work at a company, they will tell you, what kind of skills that their company is looking for. And that's important too, is also talking to people that are working and making sure what kind of skills are important. And Deshnik also uh, really knows about these skills. So he's a great guy to ask as well.
Okay, that's nice.
All right, so James, we really appreciate your time and you share with us. So we call them we call ourselves daily devs. So your insights and the ideas you shared with us is really amazing and answering some of us our questions. We really appreciate your time and your effort. I know it's pretty early that way, whereas we're already in the afternoon. So thank you. Thank you very much for sharing with us today. And we hope on having you again on the subsequent events and meetings like this online. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. It's been really nice, and it's been really nice to meet you all. and it's really inspiring to see how hard everyone is working to become a developer. I hope to see some of your projects in the future.
Right. Thank you. Right.
All right,
It's here. Until see you now. Thank you.
bye.
Bye.